How many of us are often captivated by the three-part Godfather film series directed by Francis Ford Coppola? In the novel of the same name by author Mario Puzo, the audience was introduced to a brutal yet mesmerizing world of the criminal mafia. But is that the truth about the mafia? And what is it that we do not know about these notorious gangs? Let me and my colleagues answer all of these questions right now. The term mafia originated from a criminal organization formed in the 19th century in the Sicilian region of Italy, called the Mafia Sicilia. However, this is an unofficial term, as the organization does not acknowledge itself as the mafia. Instead, they refer to themselves as Cosa Nostra in Italian, meaning, our thing. One of the identifying features of the Italian mafia is the black suit and fedora hat. Cosa Nostra is a loosely knit alliance of hundreds of individual mafia groups, called families or clans. Each organization has the power to control a separate territory, usually a town, village, or section of a city. And there is often little intragroup violence or encroachment on each other's areas of operation. Over time, the organizational structure of these families developed into a unified alliance that maintains central control while delegating power to smaller factions within the alliance. The Cosa Nostra was formed around the late 1950s. There is a hypothesis that the mafia actually originated in the Middle Ages. The origin of the mafia is believed to have been the formation of a secret society to protect the people of Sicily against the threat of Catalan invasion in the 15th century. Another hypothesis is that the famous character Robin Hood was associated with the lawless society of Sicily long before. At that time, the mafia was seen as legitimate rebels protecting people against the oppression of the Roman or northern Italian invasions. After the Revolution of 1848, in 1860, Sicily lost and fell into chaos. Initially, the mafia gangs formed anti-law enforcement groups, preparing weapons for rebellion. However, when a new government was formed in Rome, the mafia could no longer rebel. They began to change their operational strategies in the latter half of the 19th century. The forests and lands of the nobility were the targets of the mafia. In the initial phase, the city of Palermo was the main area of these activities. And then the influence of the mafia quickly spread throughout the western part of the island. The mafia is believed to have been formed around the mid-19th century with the purpose of consolidating the agreements between gangs, increasing profits, and ensuring fairness in labor and commerce. Scholars specializing in Italian social culture Diego Gambetta and Leopoldo Franchetti describe the Mafia Sicilia as a conglomerate of private companies engaged in the business of protection services. For many businessmen at that time, the mafia was a reliable protector. Because they could not rely on the police or the judiciary to protect their interests in illegal transactions, they would turn to the mafia, who could prevent fraud, robbery, or competition for customers who have paid for their services. In his analysis of the Sicilian mafia, Diego Gambetta presented the following hypothetical scenario to illustrate the function of the mafia in the Sicilian economy. Suppose a customer wants to buy meat from a meat seller without paying sales tax to the government. Because this is an illegal transaction, neither party can take the other to court if fraud occurs. The meat seller is afraid that the customer will buy inferior quality meat, while the customer is afraid that the meat seller will not pay him. But if the meat seller and the customer cannot resolve their differences, both will miss out on the opportunity to make a profit. Their solution is to require local mafia to monitor transactions in exchange for a fee proportional to the value of the transaction, but lower than the legal tax rate. Any party with fraudulent intentions will face punishment in the form of violent attacks and property destruction. Both the seller and the meat seller are afraid of the mafia, so they will know to respect this line of people. This is a transaction that benefits all three parties. Since the 20th century, the large-scale migration from Sicily has created conditions for the formation of mafia-style gangs in Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, the United States, and South America. The term mafia originally only applied to the mafia in Sicily. However, over time, this term has been expanded to refer to other similar organizations, such as the Russian mafia or the Japanese mafia. However, like the mafia in Sicily, which is called Cosa Nostra, The Japanese mafia often refers to themselves as Ninkyo Dantai, or Yakuza, while Russian mafia groups call themselves Bratva. The name Cosa Nostra was first used in the United States in 1960, when a former mafia member testified in court. Also during this time, it became a term used by the FBI and widely disseminated in the media. Since then, this term has been used everywhere, replacing the previous name for the mafia. Originally intended to provide protection services, mafia organizations have expanded their scope and methods of operation. They have caused many major upheavals in the history of Italy in particular and the world in general. The Italian mafia is accused of teaming up with the United States when the empire occupied Italy during World War II. Major internal conflicts within the mafia led to the assassination of some politicians, police chiefs, and chief judges in the early 1980s. Many mafia organizations are also responsible for developing global drug trafficking networks. They took advantage of the chaos of the war between the United States and Vietnam to develop drug supply sources in the Golden Triangle region. This area quickly became the largest drug supplier for the United States, Australia, and many other countries. Currently, the mafia in Sicily is divided because too many bosses are behind bars. However, the illegal activities of mafia organizations continue to be very strong, and their main profits come from drug trafficking. In 2006, the mafia estimated that it controlled about 80% of cocaine sales in Europe. They also carried out actions to extort businesses, large and small companies here. The mafia has now become a large-scale business in Italy, bringing in profits of over $120 billion a year. Among them, the Glamor Mafia is considered the richest gang, earning $4.9 billion a year. Mafia activities are so widespread in Italy that they are specifically regulated in the country's laws. Outside the Italian territory, the world's most powerful mafia operates in the United States. The American Mafia, also known as Cosa Nostra, has its roots in the Sicilian Mafia. It emerged in the east coast of the United States during the 19th century, following the influx of Sicilians here. In 1986, according to a report by the U.S. government, an estimated 1,700 Cosa Nostra organizations with thousands of members were operating across the United States. The report also indicated that the Italian Mafia was the largest criminal organization in the United States, dominating the American criminal syndicate and other large and small criminal organizations. Cosa Nostra in the United States is currently most active in New York, Philadelphia, New England, and Chicago, with a total of 26 Cosa Nostra families across the United States. Over time, mafia culture has penetrated deep and become popular in mainstream culture in the United States. This is the inspiration for the classic novel and film, The Godfather, with the notorious mafia clan Corleone. Not only The Godfather, but the image of the mafia also appears in many literary works, films many other countries in the world. Although criminal gangs operate outside the law, the mafia still brings us a lot of curiosity and excitement. Just as the film, The Godfather, once captivated the world with its unique charm and attraction of the underworld in the United States. This is how the mafia has become a cultural icon worldwide.